Hello and welcome to our special 5 Towns College Mass Comm Department's live coverage of the 2024 election. I'm Daniel Garcia.
And good evening, I'm Jeff Kramer. We're here in Studio 400 to bring you the latest election returns as they come in during this important election year. We'll be following the presidential race, congressional races, and other races that affect our area. We have a full team here with us tonight. Fernando Gomez is in the downbeat watching the results come in with 5 Towns students. He'll be talking to them throughout the night at our Mass Comm watch party.
And Grace Bonamico is at the map. She'll be keeping us updated as various state results come in for the presidential race and the electoral vote tally changes throughout the night. Grace?
Thanks, guys. It's still early in the night, but results have already come in for a few states according to the Associated Press. Donald Trump has won in Indiana, West Virginia, and Kentucky, giving him 23 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has won in Vermont, giving her 3 electoral votes there. This is pretty similar to the 2020 election results so far. Each state has a certain amount of votes based on their population called electoral votes. In 2020, President Biden won with 306 electoral votes, and those are all the blue states. A candidate needs 270 to win. Some states are usually blue, like New York, or red, like Texas. So we're going to be looking for any upsets tonight. We're also going to be paying close attention to these swing states like the purple ones here, Pennsylvania and Arizona. Sometimes they vote for the Democrat and sometimes they vote for the Republican, so we'll have to see how they go this year because that will make a difference in who wins. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Grace. First, we'll take a look at the biggest race on the ticket. The 2024 presidential race has been like no other. Former President Donald Trump is trying to get back to the White House, and Vice President Kamala Harris is looking for the top job. Fernando Gomez and Alexis Mack take a look at their final days of campaigning.
Harris was in Pennsylvania again, a place she's visited many times already. It's one of the key swing states she needs to get 270 electoral votes needed to win.
And to those certain individuals who still want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, trying to take us back to the days when insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions. Well, to them, we say we are not going back.
The campaign has offered free busing to Pennsylvania from New York for volunteers to help get out the vote. Harris has gained big name endorsements by Taylor Swift, LeBron James, and former President Barack Obama.
Are you ready to go?
The Harris campaign has raised over $200 million in the last 3 months since President Joe Biden unexpectedly dropped out of the election. I'm Alexis Mack, reporting.
Former President Trump has been on the campaign trail across multiple states in the final day before Election Day.
We're at the end of a journey, but a new one will be starting, and that's the one we've wanted to partake in, which is basically to make America great again. And now we'll have a chance to do it after today. Hopefully, everything will work out well. We're way leading. All we have to do is close it out. We have to close it out.
Throughout his 2024 campaign, Trump has faced many challenges, including a felony conviction related to hush money payments and 2 assassination attempts. Despite these obstacles, Trump has received significant support, including endorsements from high-profile figures like Elon Musk.
You know, the true test of someone's character is how they behave under fire. And we had one president who couldn't climb a flight of stairs, and another who was fist-pumping after getting shot.
I'm Fernando Gomez, reporting.
Now you may be wondering, how soon will we know who the next president will be? Which way will the swing states go? Those are the questions everyone is wondering about. Now, we had a chance to talk to political strategist and consultant Michael Dwodzki a couple days ago and got some of his insight. In your opinion, how close do you think this race really is going to come down to?
When you say how close, do you mean how close in the popular vote or how close in the electoral vote?
In the electoral vote.
Well, that's all that counts, really. But yes, it's hard to see either one candidate sweeping those 7 swing states. So in all likelihood, the margin of victory is going to be 10, 20 electoral votes one way or the other.
Yeah. Now let's go back to the popular vote here for a second, like you just mentioned. How close in the popular vote do you think it's going to be?
Harris will probably win the popular vote. The population shifts have been to more urban areas, and that favors the more blue states.
He says that the reason the Electoral College was created is so that the urban areas don't get all the say in picking a president.
Well, early voting started here in New York on October 26, and it started even earlier in some other states. Here's a look at workers counting the votes in Arizona. According to the Associated Press, more than 80 million people have already voted this year across the United States. About 2 million have voted here in New York State.
A voting place near 5 Towns was busy all day. People came in and out of the Fran Greenspan administration building to cast their ballots. It was busy, but there didn't seem to be any lines earlier today. People were getting in and out without waiting too long.
And here in New York, the polls closed at 9 p.m., but other places ended a little earlier. Swing state Georgia and other states, just Florida and Virginia, they closed at 7 p.m. North Carolina closed at 7:30 p.m. And then New Jersey, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, and swing state Pennsylvania were among the states that closed at 8 p.m. Besides New York, Arizona, and Minnesota closed at 9 Eastern. The West Coast closings include Nevada at 10 and California at 11.
Now let's head over to the downbeat where Fernando Gomez is talking to 5 Towns students at our Mass Comm election watch party. Fernando?
Hey, thanks, guys. We're here in the downbeat. You know, it's starting to fill up a little bit now. Food's going to be here in a little bit, so, you know, things are heating up, and we'll let you know what goes on. Back to you.
That's great to see, Fernando. Thank you. Besides the presidential race, congressional races are happening this year, and both parties are hoping to pick up seats. Currently in the Senate, there are 47 Democrats and 49 Republicans, but there are independents who side with the Democrats, so they have control. Right now, Republicans have control of the House by a slim margin. They have 220 seats, while the Democrats hold 212, so it's really close there as well. Presidents can get a lot more of their agenda passed if they have a House and Senate controlled by the same party.
And speaking of House races, the 3rd District here on Long Island has been in the news for the past couple of years now. Former Congressman George Santos had to leave his term before it was finished due to a range of criminal charges. There was a special election for his seat. Now Democrat Tom Suozzi is hoping to keep that seat for a full term against Republican Mike LaPetrie, who says Suozzi needs to go.
You know, while in Congress, I reject extremism. I use common sense, and I try to work across party lines to accomplish my 4 main priorities. Number 1, I want to secure the border. Number 2, I want to restore the state and local tax deduction. Number 3, I bring money back to the district. And number 4, I want to try and heal the partisan divide.
Washington's broken, and Tom Suozzi won't fix it. He raised our taxes by $200 million, backstabbed police, and betrayed the Jewish community when he wanted to be an honorary member of the squad. If you don't believe me, look, here's the truth. But ladies and gentlemen, this is an opportunity to pass the torch from the age of the career politician to the next generation common sense Republican.
Suozzi also held the seat before Santos was elected.
Another hotly contested congressional race is the 4th District of Nassau County. The race puts former Hempstead Supervisor Laura Gillen against former Town Board member and current Congressman Anthony D'Esposito.
I have been at the forefront in calling and rooting out anti-Semitism. I was chosen by the Speaker of the House to sit on the National Holocaust Museum Board, which allows me to bring resources to combat anti-Semitism into communities not only here on Long Island, but across the United States of America.
This is a really big problem for the people who live in the 4th Congressional District. But I think there's more that we can do. And that's why I laid out my anti-Semitism action plan to make sure that we are doing everything we can at the federal level to conquer this problem.
Now, 4 key House races on Long Island are attracting attention. Over in New York's 1st Congressional District, incumbent Republican Nick LaLota is seeking to defend his seat against Democrat John Avalon, a journalist and former political advisor. And over in the 2nd District, incumbent Republican Andrew Garbarino is known for his experience in state government. His opponent, Democrat Rob Lubin, is relatively new to politics.
In the competitive 3rd District, which was flipped blue after a special election after the expulsion of George Santos, Democrat Tom Suozzi, the former Nassau County executive, is defending his seat against Republican Mike LaPetrie. LaPetrie is a former state assemblyman. And in the 4th District, incumbent Republican Anthony D'Esposito is trying to keep his seat in a battle against former Hempstead Town Supervisor Laura Gillen.
And over in the Senate race, Republican and former police detective Mike Sapricone is seeking to beat incumbent Democrat Kirsten Gillibrand, who's held the seat since 2009.
In our state races in the Dix Hills area, over on the state assembly side, Democrat Steve Stern is defending his seat from Republican Amir Sultan, who he ran against and defeated 2 years ago in the 2020 general election. In Senate District 2, incumbent Mario Matera is defending his seat from former attorney Craig Herskowitz.
And besides voting on state races, everyone in New York gets to decide on Proposition 1. Now, Proposition 1 would expand New York's Equal Rights Amendment to prevent discrimination based on ethnicity, national origin, age, disability, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, and pregnancy outcomes. Supporters believe this amendment could help protect choices related to reproductive health care, including abortion. Opponents are concerned it may affect parental rights and religious freedoms in ways not fully considered.
There's a lot of information to go through, and we're not doing it alone on camera. We have a team of Mass Comm students working to bring us results as they come in and to make sure our broadcast runs smoothly. Let's take a look behind the scenes in the control room. Alexis Mack is on graphics, updating the numbers you'll see on your screens with the individual races. We have our producer and director, Stephen Cooney, calling the shots, and technical director, Thomas DeSalvo, making it all happen. We have Tyler McCready on teleprompter and Jenna Chambers updating our election map. Finally, we have Nature Langhorn on audio, plus our studio crew here and the crew with Fernando in the downbeat. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more coverage in a little bit. Hello and welcome back to our special 5 Towns College Mass Comm Department's live coverage of the 2024 election. I'm Daniel Garcia.
And I'm Jeff Kramer. Welcome back here in Studio 400, bringing you the latest news about tonight's election, including live updates on the outcome of the presidential race, congressional races, and other local races affecting our area. We have FTC reporter Fernando Gomez watching the results come in and talking to students at our Mass Comm watch party.
And we have Grace Bonamico at the map checking all the results.
Thanks, guys. Polls in New York don't close until 9 p.m., but we have a few new results from other states. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump has won in South Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Florida, adding to the wins he already had in Indiana, West Virginia, and Kentucky, giving him a total of 95 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has won in Maryland, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, adding to Vermont from earlier, giving her 35 electoral votes. Looking at the 2020 election results between President Biden and Donald Trump, these results are looking similar so far. Each candidate needs 270 electoral votes to win. Tonight, we're going to be looking for any upsets. We'll also be watching the results from the swing states. Those are the purple states here. Georgia, which has 15 of the electoral votes, and North Carolina, which also has 16 votes. Sometimes these states vote for the Democrat and other times the Republican, so we have to look out for how they go this year. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Grace. This year's presidential election has been a very exciting one to watch. It started out with President Joe Biden facing against Donald Trump in an attempt to remain in office, but President Biden ultimately ended up dropping out of the race, and his Vice President Kamala Harris took his place in the election. Both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris have been hard at work, spending the last 24 hours focusing on swaying voters in swing states. Harris campaigned in Pennsylvania and was encouraging voters to turn out, while Trump spent his time in North Carolina and suggested that he shouldn't have left the White House after the 2020 election.
And that's what our campaign has been about. We are a people-driven campaign, and we love the people, and we see in the face of a stranger a neighbor.
We had the best border, the safest border. I won't pull down my world's favorite chart because I don't want to waste a lot of your time, but my world's favorite chart done by the Border Patrol, it said we had the safest border in the history of our country the day that I left.
Tonight, Donald Trump is watching the results come in tonight at his resort Mar-a-Lago in Florida, and Kamala Harris is at the college she went to, Howard University in Washington, D.C.
Now let's head over to the Downbeat, where we have an election watch party with 5 Town students. Fernando Gomez is there live right now. Fernando?
Thanks, guys. We're here in the Downbeat, and with me now I have Tristan Bellin. Tristan, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome,
how are you feeling going into, election day? Like, how are you feeling right now?
Well, Nando, I'm feeling okay. I was feeling a little better until I kind of looked at the results so far, so I'm not feeling as great as I was. But you know what? I'm still optimistic. I'm still hopeful. And yeah.
And what are some of the issues that, like, this election have been really important to you?
The main issue that's been really important to me is just like economics and just the inflation and what each candidate's going to do about the rising prices and everything, but also just the rights of everyone, especially women, and just how each side has taken to that and how, yeah.
Now, how it's as it is right now, how do you think it's going to go by the end of the night?
As it's standing right now, it looks like candidate Trump is going to win.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how it goes by the end of the night, but we'll kick it back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Fernando. Now let's take a look at some of the other big races happening tonight. Democrat Kirsten Gillibrand, who's held the seat since 2009, is up against Republican and former police detective Mike Sapercone.
And there are 4 congressional seats on Long Island, and most are held by Republicans. So Democrats are hard at work trying to claim those seats during this year's election. Newsday's Scott Eiler visited our studio recently and says these races are getting national attention.
Sure, we have 4 congressional seats on Long Island, and 3 of them are held by Republicans. And the Democratic National Committee, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, has invested millions of dollars into retaking some of these seats. So in 2022, all 4 went into Republican control. Obviously, in February of this year, there was a special election after the expulsion of George Santos. Tom Suozzi, a Democrat, reclaimed his old seat. He had decided not to run. He ran for governor. He did not win in that primary, so Santos came and went. We're also watching in the most hotly contested race, competitive, according to experts, is in the 1st Congressional District, where Laura Gillen, former Hempstead supervisor, is challenging Anthony Esposito, a congressman, in a rematch. Laura Gillen lost by a couple points in 2022.
Now let's look at the individual races. Over in New York's 1st Congressional District, Democrat John Avalon is trying to take the seat from incumbent Republican Nick LaLota, who's held the spot since January of 2023. Over in the 2nd District, Democrat Rob Lubin, who only recently got into politics, is challenging incumbent Republican Andrew Garbarino, who has represented the district since 2021. In the 3rd District, Republican Mike LaPetrie challenging incumbent Democrat Tom Suozzi in an attempt to flip the district red after it went blue in a special election after the expulsion of George Santos. And over in the 4th District, former Town of Hempstead supervisor Laura Gillen is seeking to take the seat from incumbent Republican Anthony Esposito, who was a member of the Hempstead Town Council before entering Congress.
In the 1st Congressional District, voters were thinking of how their chosen candidate can affect issues important to them.
I think Nick LaLota will work hard on the big pharma issue. It's important that people can afford their prescription medications and not be price gouged.
I'm hoping that he will address the water issue and be strict with the Suffolk County Water Authority, oversee what's going on there.
That district includes the eastern end of Long Island.
Over in Nassau County's 4th District, voters are looking at the congressional race as well as the larger picture of politics in the U.S. It's Democrat Laura Gillen versus incumbent Republican Anthony Esposito.
The migrants, number 1. The border, inflation.
I do not feel like here in Nassau County we need extreme conservative viewpoints.
Both previously served as elected officials in the town of Hempstead.
Suffolk County voters have an additional proposal on the back of their ballot that centers around clean water. Proposition 2 supports a new sales tax fund for cleaner drinking water and waterways in Suffolk County. The fund aims to do things like increase the number of sewers in Suffolk and give grants to replace cesspools that are polluting.
Thanks for watching. We'll be back in a little while at 9 when polls close right here in New York.
Before we go, we'll hear from some 5 Towns College students on the importance of voting.
We wouldn't be the country that we are, and we wouldn't have the freedoms that we do if we weren't able to pick who's in charge. So, I mean, frankly, we fought forever to be able to do that, and a lot of other communities have had to fight for even longer to make that happen. So you might as well just do it, right?
I think that voting is important because I think as a younger generation, it is
imperative that we have a say in what goes on in our country, a say in our future, because honestly, we're the ones that have to live through it. That's, as simply put, that's why I think it's important.
I think voting is important, especially this election, because every single vote matters, and it's very important that we as a generation are able to decide where our country is going.
Well, we want to have our voice heard. If you have your sides and your opinions of like what these candidates are saying, and you favor those opinions, then you should go out there and vote. I mean, your voice is what matters.
We wouldn't be the country that